join us live today.
All right, welcome to Marnie and Sue's Peep Show, where we give you the behind the scenes on our lives and businesses. And Sue, we're going to be talking about some cool stuff today. And how can they ask questions if they want to?
Okay, there's two ways you can ask questions. If you've joined us live today, you can go over into the group chat and type your question, and we'll see it. It'll come up on the screen right in front of us, and we can answer it. And otherwise, if you want to send in a question for our next episode, then you can always send a question ahead of time to info@confidentmarketer.com. info@confidentmarketer.com. Now, we won't take questions from there because I don't want to have to stop and check my email while we're live, but we'll answer them the next time. So if you're live today, you can just type your question right in the group chat, and it'll show up for us.
All right. Okay, so we were going to start off talking about a little bit about Facebook advertising. I've been playing around with some Facebook ads lately, and they keep adding some neat things on there. And looked like somebody hopped on there for a second. All right. So anyway, I was putting an ad up this week, and I noticed that they've got a functionality where you can show your ads or create a custom audience where, let's say that people have downloaded your freebie, but they haven't purchased the product yet that you're upselling from there. You can put two URLs in. You can say they have visited this web address, but they have not visited that web address. Actually, you can put multiple URLs in there. You know, you could give them a list of places they visited, but they haven't visited these other places. So, you know, if you've got multiple products that you're selling and you don't want to show the ad to try to pitch that product anymore to that person, then they can be pulled out of the audience. Reaching. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So in other words, you're saying that you've done a Facebook ad and people opted in, but then they didn't respond to your upsell, to what it is that you were offering after the free opt-in offer or the irresistible free offer. So you had a way to do a Facebook ad where the only people who saw the ad were people who had expressed interest. They opted in, so they were interested in what you had to offer, but they hadn't yet gotten around to making a purchase, or they were thinking about making the purchase. And I think that's a great little tip, because a lot of times people think, well, I'm interested in that, but I haven't had time to read her freebie yet, and I'm not sure, you know, they just don't ever get around to it. You know, how the whole world kind of has trouble getting around to it. So that's a way to target those people in a Facebook ad, and I think that's very cool. So do you find that in the Power Editor, I'm assuming, of Facebook, right?
Just the regular Facebook Ad Manager under the custom.
Oh, okay. It's not in Power Editor. It's just in the regular. Okay. Yeah. That's very cool.
Yeah, and you can start collecting people who visit your website into a list, even if you're not ready to run advertising to them. You can, there's some really cool stuff you can do where you can start gathering those people into a custom list so that when you are ready,
yeah,
you can run the ad to them.
Cool. Okay.
Cool. Now, podcast interviews, you had some comments that you want to make on is it the agreement that people have when they do a podcast that you had some concerns?
So, you know, Marnie and I are really all about really understanding what the back end of your business is, and that's why we do this Peep Show, so that we can pull back the curtains and let you into the back end of our businesses. And so I see sometimes clients get into trouble when they agree to do something and they really don't have a written agreement for what they're doing, or they do something and they haven't read thoroughly what the written agreement is that they're getting into. So as everybody knows, podcasting is like the hot new thing, and if you're like me, you're getting requests to be a podcast guest quite often. In fact, I think in the last week I got 18 invitations to be a podcast guest. And, you know, I can't do all of them, so I have to kind of pick and choose. But one of them in particular came across my desk that I thought looked like a fairly good match for who my audience is, who my target market is. But when you went in to look at scheduling it, he had a legal agreement that you had to sign that said that not only did he have use of the podcast and the transcript from the podcast, which I have no trouble with, but he also had worldwide rights forever to any derivative works from that podcast, meaning that if I shared on the podcast my 7 steps to getting 6-figure sales on the internet, and he then made that into a book and sold it, he had the rights to my system. And, you know, you have to be really careful about that. I declined then to do a podcast for him, even though I think his show is a good one, because I don't want to give away my worldwide rights to anything. I don't mind giving away my rights for the podcast MP3 and for the transcript from it, but I don't want somebody taking that transcript of what I said, putting it into an info product or into an ebook, and selling it as if it is theirs rather than mine. So just be careful when you sign those agreements. Look at them and, you know, go through them carefully and understand what it is that you're signing away, because you might be signing away your worldwide rights to your own intellectual property. And for those of us who are mentors and coaches and guides and technical experts, what we live on is our intellectual property, what we know between our ears and the systems and the ways that we do things. So that's why it's important. So I'm just saying, watch what you sign. If someone asks you to sign something before you do a podcast, make sure you understand what you're signing and what you're giving away.
Did you tell him why? Because, I mean, I bet he just needs to word it where he says that.
Yeah, I did. I did. I wrote him and said, you know, I have no trouble with you using the MP3 and the transcript in any way that you want to use. You're interviewing me. It's yours to use. But I never give away my worldwide rights to anything. Even when I publish an article in a magazine, I give away First North American serial rights, which means they have the right to publish it one time. And then later on, if I want to use it in something else, I can. Because that's my, you know, that's my thought process, my intellectual property, my systems. Now, you can't copyright ideas, and if you're just kicking around ideas on a podcast, then that's fine. But you can copyright, you know, someone can take your ideas or your system, put it in a book, and then copyright that book, or put it in an info product. So there's another way to handle it. If it's a podcast show that you really, really want to be on, then just make sure when you're interviewed you don't say, here's my 7-step system for X. Just keep your comments general and kind of up in the idea sphere, not down in the how-to sphere. And then you can cover it that way too.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right. Okay, we were talking about promoting Facebook posts versus running ads.
Mm-hmm.
So, I generally have this rule of thumb. If it's like I'm running Facebook ads for clients, so let's say I have a local business that just wants to raise awareness of the fact that they are located in Hamilton Place Mall in Chattanooga or whatever. Well, that client wants basically visibility, brand awareness, and it's not so much about the engagement or someone having to click through to something. They just want people to know they're at Hamilton Place Mall. So that I would use promote a post, because it's a little bit more economical to just get the numbers and the exposure. But if you want click-throughs, or you want people to actually get on your list so that you have conversions and you're going to track that, I always run an ad versus promote a post, because you'll pay a lot more for that promoted post than you will if you pay for the action, where you're paying per conversion or per click or per like or whatever. Always go for what you really, really want and pay for that. And it's easier to do that with a Facebook ad than a post. That's
So you're saying, let me make sure I understand you correctly. I think I do. So you're saying that if you want visibility for something like your location, where you just are raising visibility, then you could just promote a post. But if you want somebody to actually click through and take an action, you would use a Facebook ad.
That's what I would do. Yeah. It's just cheaper per action.
Sorry?
It's cheaper per action. If you know, it's
cheaper per action to do it that way. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in other words, if I were going to promote a post, and in that post there was a call to action to say, go read a blog go read a blog post on my website, that's probably not a good use of money, really, is what you're saying.
No, I don't think it is.
Yeah, I don't think it is. I agree with you. I don't think it is either. I actually I've played with promoting posts some in the past, and I don't know, the jury is out for me. It's almost like if I'm going to advertise something, let me just advertise it. And I guess, to back up a little bit, Marnie, the reason you and I are even talking about this is for those people who may be listening who don't know, really trying to expecting much for your business out of Facebook just organically, that doesn't work so much anymore. I mean, you're going to have to pay to play. So if you really want to get the reach, then you're going to have to either promote a post or you're going to have to build a Facebook ad to get out in front of your audience. Otherwise, the organic reach is squeezed down so much, it really doesn't do you much good anymore at all. And I have certainly seen that on my page, my business page on Facebook. I've also noticed lately that if I link to something, it gets hardly any reach at all. Even if I'm sharing a blog post or maybe I'm sharing something that you're doing, it doesn't matter. If there's a link, Facebook is going to squeeze that down. And if I just write a couple of paragraphs of something, almost like a little mini blog post, it'll reach a whole lot more people without any link in it whatsoever, which is a shame because you're losing the ability then to try to get people to go over to your website. That's because Facebook wants its traffic to stay on Facebook. They're not about helping you get people to jump off Facebook and go to your website or to a sales page. That's not what Facebook is about. Facebook wants you to keep your people on Facebook. So there's that tug and pull between what's good for your business and what's good for Facebook. So that's a great tip from Marnie.
Yeah. And you wanted to share a little bit about your friends, right, and the business legacy?
Oh, yeah. I've been thinking a lot lately about what is our legacy in business, and I'd love to have your thoughts on it, too. People think about legacies when somebody dies. I mean, lately we've been thinking about Robin Williams and the legacy he left, and I wrote a blog post this week on my blog over at confidentmarketer.com about the legacy that Edith Flagg left, who was a very well-known fashion designer back in the day, lived in Hollywood. She built a multi-million-dollar business. Her claim to fame is that she brought polyester to the United States. She found it in Europe, and she became the exclusive importer of polyester to the United States, and she made hundreds of millions of dollars in her fashion industry for doing that. Whatever you think about polyester, back in the day it was the hot thing to have your clothing made out of. So, and she became, before she died, last week I guess she died, in her 90s, she became a very well-known philanthropist both in Hollywood and in New York and gave away millions and millions and millions of her dollars to charity, to different foundations. So I thought about that legacy that she left. She was an immigrant to this country. She came to this country with $100 or something like that in her pocket, and she built this big fashion industry. So she left quite a legacy. And then I have some friends who live just a couple hours away from here who Bill and I, as soon as I get off this show, we're going to be leaving to go. Their city is honoring them for the work they've done their entire lives in this little city of Lawrenceburg, Tennessee. They have worked all over the world, and they have impacted many, many lives all over the world. The man is a photographer, and he was the first photographer the military brought into 9/11 once the World Trade Towers crashed. So many of the photographs that we all saw were his photographs. They're being honored today, and they're not dead. They're alive. So I start thinking about, we really have a legacy that we're known for before we're ever gone. As we're working day to day, we're building up not only a reputation in how we act and how we deal with customers and how we deal with each other, but also a legacy that we leave behind that really has impacted people in their lives, like Robin Williams or like Edith Flagg or like my friend, or even I think I got, right before I got on the Google Hangout, I think I saw a thing come across my Twitter feed that Betty White has just passed away. And so I was thinking about the legacy she left too. But you have a legacy, dead or alive, and I just think about, what is that legacy? What is the legacy that I've left, the impacts my business has had, or the impacts that I've had in personal relationships? And I don't know, I just think about that. It behooves us to think about that, while we're doing it, while we're creating that legacy.
I agree. I think that's important to convey. I was thinking other people probably know our legacy better than we do.
I know. I mean, if I had to name what my legacy is, I'm not so sure that I could. I mean, I've had people write me over the years and say what you did really impacted my life, but I don't really think about that as a legacy, but yet it is. So it's like, how do you even start to identify that? Do you ask people, or do you just hope that what you're doing is leaving a certain legacy, and you choose the actions you do based on what you think, you choose actions based on what you think that legacy will be that you will be creating through the goodness or the generosity or the expertise or whatever you have that you're bringing out into the world. I mean, I don't know. Do you think about that? You have, you've got 6 kids. Do you think about legacy for them?
I think about legacy a lot. It's an everyday part of what I do in my business in a way, because for me, I want to leave a legacy of inspiration. That people hope, to feel like they can do it, that they can keep going even when things are difficult, that they can be successful. So I think I consciously think about that all the time.
Yeah. And I think about leaving a legacy of encouragement and confidence, that what I hope that I help my clients with, or people just that I meet, is that you really can step out and do what it is that you have in your heart to do. You may not see the way clear, but if you just start taking steps, that way will be given to you, I guess I would say, or you will start seeing the way forward. But it is saying with courage, it is saying, I'm going to do this even though I feel nervous about it or scared about it or don't particularly have a lot of courage. That is what builds confidence. So, I want to leave a legacy of confident people who feel like they can make things happen in the world for themselves. They have agency out in the world. And that's important to me, because I believe in really being responsible for yourself and being able to make things happen for yourself. Even though you don't know how, you just have that intention and kind of bring it forward. And I know you and I have talked a lot about that too. I think that's one reason we kind of started chatting back and forth to begin with.
Yeah, I think we have a commonality there, kind of a common thread in what we both kind of stand for and want to represent to the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
That's cool. All right, so reminders, Sue's new book, be sure and get it on Amazon. How to Get Clients. Tell us the whole name, Sue. It's long.
How to Get More Clients and Help More People. And it is specifically how to market for people who are either energy workers or other transformational workers. And you can find it on Amazon under Kindle. If you look under Sue Painter, author, I have 3 books, and that's one of them. Or I have a short link for you, because Amazon links are horribly long. It's confidentmarketer.com/how to get clients. confidentmarketer.com/how to get clients. And it's all about understanding the energy that you offer and why people love you but never buy anything for you. If that's the problem that you've got, then that little book will be helpful to you. And Marty also has a new thing she's cooking up about helping people, actually holding their hands and showing them a system where they can create a product in a week. And you want to give the URL for that, because I think that's a very cool thing. People really need those kind of project management skills.
Yeah, it's marniepehrson.com/unplugged/income.
marniepehrson.com/unplugged/income.
Yeah.
Okay. So those are 2 things that you can check out if you need help with a product, or if you need help making more sales in your business. Those 2 things will be of help to you. And let's see, if you are interested, we're going to do a workshop sometime in the fall, probably a virtual workshop for a couple of hours, about some of these things that we talk about during the Peep Show. If you're interested on being on the mailing list for that workshop, you can just put workshop in the subject line and send an email to info@confidentmarketer.com, and we'll make sure that you get the information when it's available. Not available yet.
Right. And our next episode coming up is Wednesday, September 10th at 11 Eastern. And we'll send you the link to join us if you're on our list, so be sure and get that at confidentmarketer.com/peep show. And our topics, who knows, whatever we stumble upon this week, we'll be talking about it, I'm sure, right?
Whatever Marnie and I end up chatting about over the week. And then, do we have any questions today, Marnie? You're controlling the dashboard, so I don't know if we have visitors today who have written in a question or not.
Not in the chat. Let me check I'll check the page.
Okay.
Not right. No.
Okay. Okay. And we want to encourage you too that if you're watching the replay of this, but you'd like to attend live, you need to connect with us on Google Plus. Connect with Marnie and connect with me so that we will be able to send you a direct link that will enable you to come into the Google Hangout live. Because otherwise it might be hard for you to connect live. You'll be able to watch it but maybe not ask a question. So be sure to connect with us, and we'll put you in a Google Plus circle so that we can send that invitation out to you. That will help just manage the technology a little bit. Good talking with you, Marnie.
All right, you too.
Okay, take care. Bye, everybody.
Bye.